So now we go to next item. That is item 13. As I mentioned, a long way to go, 13 and 14. 14 is huge. So thank you very much for the support given by the delegates and the participants. So we move on now to examination of the item 13 on the draft plan for the use of the resources of the Intangible Cultural Heritage Fund in 22-23 year. So our functions as a committee are laid down in Article 7 of the Convention. One of these functions is to propose to the General Assembly of States Parties a draft plan for the use of the resources of the fund. Since we are meeting here in the year before the next General Assembly, we need to examine the spending plan for the next 2 years as proposed by the Secretariat. So this is an important subject for the committee and for the convention as a whole, as many of the achievements by the committee and the Secretariat over the past 2 years have been made possible thanks to the Intangible Cultural Heritage Fund, to which the state parties contribute year after year. So, Mr. Secretary, the floor is yours to present this item to us. Please, over to you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairperson. Dear delegates, dear committee members, there are 3 documents pertaining to item 13. Document Inf 13.1, which is an information document about the past. It reports on the implementation of the fund from the 1st of January 2020 until the 30th of June 2021, and it contains the financial statement on the use of the fund issued by the Bureau of Strategic Planning. Document Inf 13.2 is an information document that provides a narrative report for the implementation of the, quote, other functions of the committee line as a transitionary measure following the new approval procedure for the other functions line, which was introduced in Bogota in 2019. This report exceptionally covers a period of 42 months from 1st of January 2018 to 30th of June 2021, again because of the reduced agenda time last year on the online modality. For the sake of time and efficiency, I will not present in detail the content of these documents, but stand ready, of course, to answer any question delegates may have on the information contained therein. Document 16.com13 is the main document and is made up of 2 main sections. The first part presents the recent trends in the implementation of the fund. It provides a detailed analysis of expenditures and incomes of the current biennium. The second part is about the future. It proposes a draft plan for the use of resources of the fund for the next biennium and the first 6 months of 2024. To this end, a draft plan for the use of the resources of the fund is annexed to the working document. So allow me also to present the recent trends. During the 40C5 biennium, the total income of the fund has increased by 16% compared to the previous biennium for the same period. And this is the result of the increase of the voluntary supplementary contributions received in 2020 and 2021, which amount to a total of $757,268 United States dollars. Meanwhile, the expenditure rate of the latest plan approved by the General Assembly is on decrease compared to the previous biennium and was at 32.4% as of 30th of June in 2021. In comparison, this rate was at 47.2% as of 30th of June 2019, and this is really largely due to the effects of the COVID-19 pandemic that has affected the operations of the Secretariat as well as those of states parties worldwide. Allow me to recall that the document only takes into account expenditure incurred until end of June 2021, and since then the Secretariat intensified its efforts to implement activities, in particular under the budget lines dedicated to international assistance and other functions of the committee. Consequently, the expenditure rate reached 41.8% as of 30th of November of this year, 2021, and we are quite confident that the expenditure rate will draw around 50% at the end of the year. The expenditure rate was at 63% in 2018 to 2019, which obviously took place in a very different circumstances. As you can see on the graph shown on the screens, expenditures have decreased compared to previous 2018 and 19 biennium, and this is the result from the survey. Sorry, I don't know if the graph is up. This is the result from the delay or postponement of a number of activities under budget line 3, other functions of the committee, and also quite a significant decrease in requests for international assistance under budget line 1, which is a large section of the budget, and the switch to an online format for almost all statutory meetings during the last 2 years, which meant the budget lines allocated to cover the travel costs of experts from developing countries was almost unspent. Those are budget lines 4, 5, and 6. Now, looking at international assistance in more details, the expenditure rate for budget line 1, 1.1, and 2 represents 32%, whereas it represented 52% for the 2018-19 biennium. This, as I think I mentioned, is due to the number of incoming international requests, international assistance requests, which decreased from 48 requests treated during the 2018 to 2019 biennium to 27 in the first 18 months of this biennium. So moving forward, if we look to the future plan for the implementation of the fund, it's summarized under Annex 1 in document 13. And the draft plan covers a period of 24 months, 2022 and 2023, as well as the first 6 months of 2024. The proposed budget for the first 6 months of 2024 corresponds to 1/4 of the total budget approved for 2022 and 2023. Should the draft plan be endorsed by the committee at the present session, it will be submitted for the approval of the 9th session of the General Assembly in June 2022. For the period from 1st of January 2022 to 31st of December 2023, the amount of spending plan is estimated to be approximately 7.7 million, which is almost equal to the budget of this biennium at 7.8 million. As regards the overall budget of the plan, all budget lines are maintained. However, I would like to bring to the attention of the committee members that we do intend to propose some adjustments, and I'll highlight these very clearly when I reach the budget lines concerned. In line with the priorities of the fund, it is proposed that the majority of the resources be allocated to international assistance, as has always been the case, and those are budget lines 1, 1.1, and 2, and the combined percentage of these 3 lines is 62.6% of the fund. Budget line 1 is assigned once more with the majority of the allocation of the fund at 50%. The first adjustment proposed in this plan regards this line 1 and is a direct response to recommendations 5 and 6 from the iOS evaluation. It is proposed to use part of this line on an experimental basis to cover the monitoring and evaluation costs of international assistance projects. These additional funds, separate from the grants allocated to the beneficiary states, would not exceed 10% of the approved project, a budget for any project, and would be managed directly by the Secretariat. They could, for instance, support the assistance of external experts, in particular to provide an independent evaluation of projects. Budget line 1.1, the Safeguarding Implementation and Monitoring Team, will be assigned 10%. And budget line 2, preparatory assistance, will slightly increase from 2 to 2.6%. And this proposed increase is linked to the global reflection on the listing mechanisms. If the proposed procedures are endorsed by the committee and the General Assembly, it would allow the fund to be able to respond to requests for the transfer of inscribed elements between the 2 lists of the Convention, as well as for the inscriptions of elements on an extended or reduced basis, without having to wait until the approval of the following 24-25 plan. Budget line 3, other functions of the committee, will be maintained at 20% of the total budget approved, as it has been, I think, since I have been. As previously approved by the committee, funds allocated to this budget line will be specifically dedicated to the improvement in the management of knowledge, information, and monitoring of the convention, the capacity building program and its upstream activities, the integration of ICH into development plans, policies, and programs, with a particular focus on education and on safeguarding ICH in emergency situations, and part 4, the promotion of the objectives of the convention through awareness raising and outreach. As in preceding plans, the present draft decision proposes that the committee authorizes the Secretariat to make transfers between the activities included within the specific proposals for budget line 3, other functions of the committee, up to a cumulative amount equivalent to 5%. Budget line 4 is proposed to be slightly increased to support the participation costs of experts that are members of the committee in a potential extraordinary session of the committee that could take place in the first half of 2022, as recommended by the open-ended Intergovernmental Working Group in the framework of the Global Reflection on the Listing Mechanisms. Meanwhile, budget lines 5 and 6 will be maintained at the same level. Budget line 7 is also proposed to be increased from 6% to 7.7% to cover the cost of the advisory services. Similar to budget line 2, the proposed increase is linked to the Global Reflection on the Listing mechanisms. It would allow the treatment, evaluation, and examination by the body of an initial number of requests that the Secretariat may receive in 2022 and 2023 for the transfer of inscribed elements between the lists of the convention or for inscriptions of elements on an extended or reduced basis. And finally, the present draft decision proposes that the committee continue to authorize the Secretariat to operate transfers between budget lines 4, 5, 6, and 7 of up to 30% of their initial allocation. The Secretariat would inform the General Assembly and the committee at their respective next session of the exact amount transferred between these budget lines. Mr. Chairperson, I have come to the end of my presentation. I hope that I've provided all the information that the committee members would require to examine this important item, and I remain, of course, at your disposal to answer any questions. Thank you, Mr. Chairperson.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Mr. Secretary, for this detailed presentation of the plan for the use of resources for the next period, 2022 and 2023. So I now open the floor. Does anybody wish to take the floor? Any country? Kuwait? Yeah, I think Kuwait. So the floor is over to you, Kuwait.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Secretary, for the financial report. I just wanted to make sure, I've seen it in the figures and the report. So the cost for the evaluation body is about 7.7% of the budget, where about 50% of the international assistant. Am I correct, Mr. Chair? I just want to clarify on that point. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Yes, yes. So, I think yes. Mr. Curtis, better you answer it.
Yes, that is correct. Thank you.
Okay, anybody else? Yes, I think I know, right? Yeah, I see. I believe we have given this careful consideration, right? And are ready now to move on to the adopting the draft decision. Please refer to the document 13 and its draft decision in paragraph 35. So, like in the previous occasions, may I ask the committee to adopt draft decision 16.com13 as shown on the screens. So let us proceed paragraph by paragraph. So coming to paragraph 1, citing the document we have examined. I see no objection, so I adopt it. Moving on to paragraph 2, recalling the Convention's article that assigns the committee the task of preparing a draft plan for the use of the resources of the fund and the General Assembly's resolution by which the current plan was approved. I see no objection, so I adopt it. Moving on to paragraph 3, recalling the UNESCO's General Conference resolution concerning the adoption of the budget for the 41C/5. Are there any objections? No, I see none. So I adopt it. And now, paragraph 4, calling upon all state parties to ensure that their assessed contribution is paid at the earliest opportunity. Do I see any objections? No. I see no objections. So I adopt it. Adopted. Coming to paragraph 5, noting that the draft plan takes into account the potential costs that may result from the global reflection on listing mechanisms of the Convention. Are there any objections? No. So I adopt it. Paragraph 6, deciding that the 2022 and 2023 plan will be based on the available balance as of 31st December 2021. Can we adopt it? Yes, I adopt it. Paragraph 7, to submit to the 9th General Assembly the draft plan included in Annex 1 of the document that we just discussed, including the provisional clause regarding the first 6 months of 2024 until the 10th General Assembly. Are there any objections? No objections, I adopt it. Paragraph 8, which welcomes the proposal to strengthen the monitoring and evaluation of the international assistance mechanisms and to authorize the Secretariat to use an amount not exceeding 10% to this purpose in line with the IOS recommendations. Any objections? I see no objections, so I adopt it. Adopted. Paragraph 9, proposing to allow transfers of up to 5% of the initial allocation between budget lines for other functions of the committee. Do I see any objections? No, I don't see any objections. So I adopt it. Going to paragraph 10, authorizing a margin of flexibility between lines 4, 5, 6, and 7. Any objections? No, I adopt it. So, I think we have now adopted each of the paragraphs and we need to adopt the decision as a whole. Seeing no objections. Yes, I think seeing no objections. I therefore declare decision 16.com 13 adopted. Yes.